Well, we're live on the official International Fight Week wrap-up show, the Monday after, I guess. Call it.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animals of all varieties. Welcome to the MMAniacs podcast. There's a lot that
I feel
happened this
welcome.
week. What's that?
I said, well, I feel welcome.
Well, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, there's so much to talk about: the fights, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the fact that the UFC is being sold.
Has been
um,
sold. It's sold, baby.
right.
I have nothing
Uh,
really to add about that except it's something that we knew was coming for a long time. I would have to be more skilled in contract law, and it's really kind of a wait and see type of thing. What are they going to do? Or be they're a place that manages sports leagues around the world in Europe, cricket, MLS, not MLS, but some of the soccer leagues, and uh, also so they do NFL production, their video production. They work with actors and performers in the entertainment industry. So uh, and apparently they've been working with the UFC in some small capacity for some years, but the WME, all these groups that I guess you wouldn't know unless you read Forbes magazine or really knew about the ins and outs of the behind the scenes
yeah,
production
don't
world.
I don't really know anything about them, or I don't really know anything about the deal other than Dana White is supposedly staying on board. The Fertitas are giving up the majority of their shares, although they're keeping some, I heard, and remaining around in some capacity, although Lorenzo is giving up the title of CEO, and
Yeah,
and
basically they're just keeping a percentage and still getting paid a little bit occasionally in the same way that the previous regime I think had some things. But again, this is stuff that the average fan doesn't necessarily know on a day-to-day basis because it's just how the sausage is made. But it's certainly worth noting since it was just announced after a tremendous, huge weekend of money making for the UFC. It was a $10 million gate, just live gate alone for the UFC 200 event. So never mind merchandise, the entire International Fight Week, the Fan Expo, all this. I mean, they went out on the highest note. So
yeah,
it's
right.
they,
That was definitely their biggest weekend ever, I'm sure.
yeah, and it was all planned. I mean, there were whisperings about this for the past few weeks, and of course the UFC, especially in this day and age, is very cognizant of controlling how information leaves and who
Although
puts it
they don't
out.
seem to be very very good at it. What they do
Well,
is
really,
something leaks, and then Dana White just denies it, like bald faced lies about it for 3 days, and then they go, okay, I guess that's really what was happening.
yeah, but that's been the case throughout his history of the UFC. But it's only like the last few years where social media has played such a big part in how fans are getting information. And well, they've been very strategic about it, and of course, since the infamous Helwani situation, they've been pretty much in control of what media has come out. That is until journalist Nick David broke the Anderson Silva story, which
Well, I was given the information directly from a person that I know personally, and who's a friend of mine, and is also a manager of several fighters in the UFC, and who told me that Dana White told him directly. Um, so take that for what it's worth. I heard it from him before I saw it anywhere else. I guess from what I heard, there was another website called Combotch, I believe, which
Combate,
yeah, which is Portuguese. It's pronounced combate. It's spelled like that in Portuguese, but I think it's a Portuguese website. I don't know anything about it. I think it's a Brazilian website. Uh, I believe. Um, I might be wrong. Have you gone to the website?
Well, I saw when I got the text from you, the first place I went to was bloodyelbow.com,
Okay.
and the first thing it said was Dana White denies Anderson Silva rumor. His text message said Kambach is wrong, so that's what I texted you back, and we had to, because the only reason the spotlight is at journalism so much is after the Helwani breaking the Lesnar news ahead of 199's UFC promo to announce it to as a big surprise. There's been a lot of talk about what is a journalist. Was what Ariel did unethical? And I mean, he did everything. He
Mm,
did his due diligence. He had two sources that confirmed the story. There was nothing unethical except the UFC being angry that they weren't the ones to surprise the fans with it. But
right. Except
Luke
Ariel
Thomas.
Helwani's a real journalist. I don't consider myself a real journalist, but I
Well, right, but I'm just saying that's why the spotlight's been put on real journalists, because if you have to have two stories to corroborate it,
right,
because if one person says no, then all you have is rumor and conjecture. So that's
right.
why I gave Nick a little back and forth shit over text message, because nobody else had reported it, and Dana White said it was reported immediately after Thursday's main event, Dos Anjos losing the lightweight title to Eddie Alvarez, which we'll get into more of later. But it was strategically tweeted officially by Dana White after, so as not to take anything away from that night's fight card in a week that was already turned upside down by John Jones having to pull out. Of course, that's who Silva ultimately replaced in
Right.
a
And
fight
he
that
was
there's way more to talk
as
about.
as much as Silva says that he is not in it for the money, he isn't doing it for the money. He was the second highest paid athlete on that card at
Right, of course.
at $600,000
Yes,
versus Brock Lesnar's 2.5 million.
yes.
Uh, so those were
So
the two biggest paydays, but there were a lot of six-figure paydays on that card, and I'm very happy to see fighters really be getting what they deserve, and even more than that. I mean, I know that there's behind-the-scenes stuff. I know that they're making money other ways, and there's all kind of backdoor deals, and I know that the UFC, because of their private ownership status, they can pay their employees however they see fit, and they don't have to report it to the public. And so because of that, they bonus their athletes in a private manner. So they're making more money. I don't know how much more. If somebody's making $100,000 for a fight, are they making another $10,000 as a bonus, or are they making another $300,000? You just don't know. You have no idea what the actual amount is that they're getting paid. But I have a feeling that it's much, much more than what they report that they're spending on their athletes, because you see people that are you look at their paychecks on their normal fights, and you're going, okay, well, he made $90,000 there, 45,000 with a $45,000 win, and he's doing three fights a year, so he's making uh, maybe $200,000 a year, and then he has to spend probably 60,000 of that on his management and his training and his so but then you see some of these like behind the scenes thing and see how some of these people live, and they have some nice houses and some nice cars and some nice clothes, and it leads me to believe that there's a lot more money being made than what it actually says, and I'm glad for that. I think these guys are the best athletes in the world. I think I've said it before. I think mixed martial artists are the best athletes in the world, and they should be making money that far exceeds those of guys that hit a ball and then run around in a circle. So
it's a
uh,
diamond.
a diamond. Oh, sorry, it's diamond. Yes,
Come on, come
sorry. A
on.
diamond. Sorry.
It's not Bellator baseball, Nick. What are
Sorry,
you
it's
talking
Bellator
about?
baseball.
And athletes in
There's
Bellator
six
run around in a
bases.
circle,
It's
okay?
Bellator baseball. There's six bases. At one base, there's a hot dog stand.
So you
You have
guys,
to
Nick,
climb through it. You have to do a round of miniature golf to get to the from the fourth to the fifth base. I got it. Okay.
so I'm
So
just summing
diamond.
up Nick's financial. Uh, so what you're saying is that you don't consider Bellator fighters to be athletes because they run around in a circle. I think I got that. I think I got that, Nick. I got it. I got it. Nick David, MMAniacs, blast Bellator for running around in a circle. That's what you're saying. Just kidding. Uh,
It's going to be a headline somewhere.
Clickbait. That's how we sell this.
Clickbait.
Clickbait.
Perfect.
See, my whole problem with you breaking the news was that we didn't have a podcast to bait and switch people to listen to as a result. It was just a post to
Yeah,
get some
it was.
Facebook likes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But regardless, there's plenty to talk about. So let's just start with Thursday. I watched most of the card. I worked. The problem is that I had to work 11-hour days Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So my sleep suffered a bit, but I tried to watch as much fighting as I could when I could, starting with Thursday's record 7 submission fight card 90, which aired
Crazy, right?
exclusively on Fight Pass. Yeah, a lot of young fighters put on a show to try to steal the spotlight this weekend, and they may have. Overall, it was the best fight card of the weekend. I feel like there was a lot of somewhat boring fights on the tough finale, although the main event was outstanding. Joanna Jędrzejczyk
Mm.
successfully defending her strawweight title against Claudia Gadelha in the Ultimate Fighter finale main event. Um, the finale women's fight was good. The men's fight was more of a lay and pray contest, which there would be some varying degrees of throughout the weekend, most noticeably Cormier Silva. To some
Yeah.
degree, Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt, although I feel like to call it lay and pray really didn't do it justice because although Brock was not posturing up with his strikes, that's still a big toaster-sized hand. I don't care
Mm.
how far away it's hitting you.
Well,
Hunt was hurt and uncomfortable.
leading up to this, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Leading up to this, I watched the Lesnar Couture fight, and when he beat Couture, he was literally they were all like 4-inch punches, and they were all like 30 of them in succession. Pong, 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 pong. It's like a whack-a-mole,
Yeah.
And they were all like right on his head, and the ref stepped in to stop the fight. From just these, I mean, they were literally 3 to 4 inches away from his head, just rapid succession. But you're getting hit with a fucking mailbox,
Yeah, yeah,
3, 4 inches
exactly.
away from your head, a lead-filled mailbox.
Yeah,
So
and Mark Hunt is a tough guy, and
he
he was at a
really is.
comfortable position with him. I mean, it was brought up, I think, by Brian Stan in the post-fight show, but Brock essentially just drowned him on the ground. He was just suffocating him with his head and trapping his leg, and he could have tried to improve position, but he was better holding his leg down, and so Hunt couldn't get back up because not only is he tough to get on the ground, he's tough to hold there. And I think Brock Lesnar did a tremendous job. Just to skip way ahead to the UFC 200, but I want to go back to just saying overall Thursday's fight card could have been the most entertaining, and it was a very surprising co-main event, which I did see live. I got home from comedy stuff to watch the co-main event and the main event, uh, and Derek Lewis just pouring it on Roy Nelson. Talk about
Mm.
resilient chins. That was some hard hitting from Derek Lewis, who is still pretty uh, not a very good defensive fighter. Couldn't fight off underhooks. Got taken down at will, but pretty
Yeah,
much got up
he
all 7 times immediately. But
right. He's not. He doesn't have any kind of real ground game, but he does have a lot of explosiveness when he's on the bottom, and so he's used that explosiveness and to get back to his feet, which is where he can do all the damage. He's not slapping on arm bars or throwing up triangles. He just wants to get up off the ground. But having said that, he doesn't have. They talked about him. Brian Stan said that he had some sort of ground game. I've never seen it. I've never seen it, so I don't know what ground game he's talking about. I've never seen him work from his back. I've never seen his guard. I don't know. I don't know if he has any submission wins. I'd have to look at his record. I don't think he has any submission wins. I think his wins are by either knockout or decision. Um,
Well, Gonzaga was with him on the ground a little bit at their fight in Croatia. Not for long, but
right,
very
he's able
limited
to,
what we've seen.
but I don't. I'd have to go back and look at that fight, but I don't think. I don't think that Gonzaga was in his guard at all. I think he was. I think his guard was easily passed. Is the point that I'm trying to make? Is
Yeah,
nobody's. He hasn't held anybody in his guard. Everyone that he's gone to the ground with has easily passed his guard and gotten to side control. But once in side control, people have had a hard time keeping him down. And I know what it's like rolling with guys that are that big, that are very difficult to keep on the ground. I have a lot of, I have, I'm a heavy guy, and I know how to I know how to use my weight properly, and in order to keep guys down. But there are guys that it doesn't matter how well I can use my weight, even in side control in a super dominant position. There are guys that can just explode up out of me having side control on him. So I think he's one of those guys that can just really kind of, uh, go to superhuman mode and just explode up out of it.
yeah, and he did what he could. He almost knocked out Nelson in the final seconds of that with an uppercut that just smashed his head back.
That was gnarly. That was gnarly. I was so so I watched the fights live, and then I listened to the Fight Companion, which with Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz, and they were they were both going, "Did he just lose a tooth?" Both of them were going. Both of them thought that he lost a tooth. They're like, "I think he
Yeah,
just lost a fucking tooth. I think a tooth just came out." And they had to watch the replay to see that it was slobber.
yeah,
And then Joe Rogan said, "Well, there you go. That's an actual slobber knocker right there.
yeah,
There is the actual definition of slobber knocker. He just
yeah,
knocked slobber right out of his face." So
yeah. There was an instance of slobber knocking elsewhere over the weekend. I forget which fight it was exactly, but I think it was maybe the tough finale. Anyway,
it's so hard when there's this many fights. What did we watch over
well,
the
you
course of
just
3 days? 40 fights,
uh,
close to 40 fights in 3 days. I
yeah.
mean,
I
that's a
still
lot.
haven't seen them all. I went back and watched some early Sunday. I still haven't watched the Fight Pass prelims for the tough finale, and there's a few on the Dos Anjos card that I haven't seen yet. But I did go back and see, of course, Joe Duffy's uh, under sub minute 36, 34-second chokeout victory, rear naked choke of Mitch Clark, which was very impressive. And
Yes.
and the whole main card was real exciting, of course. Um, of course, the main event, which looked like a video game to me, Eddie Alvarez. Uh, oh, we should also mention we didn't. Most people we assume saw it, but Derek Lewis defeated Roy Nelson by split decision
Right.
in going to a decision for the first time in his career. It was actually surprisingly Roy Nelson's third career decision and also his third straight decision.
Yeah, I didn't agree with the decision. I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but I was not. I felt like Roy Nelson won that fight. I feel like it was. I feel like it was. There was. I have to go back and watch it again now. As I said,
What?
so many fights there was, but I felt like there was one round that was clearly Nelson, and there was one round that. Sorry, there was one round that was clearly Lewis, and then
That was the
there
first
was
round.
right there. So the first round was clearly Lewis, and then there was one round that was very clearly Nelson, and then I think there was one round that was close, but I felt that it was Nelson.
Well,
So,
that's
which I think
surprising to me.
that's probably why it was a split decision. It's a close third round that could have gone either way, and one judge saw it one way, and two judges saw it the other way. So could just have easily been two judges saw it one way and one judge saw it another way. It's just that's just the unfortunate reality of the fight game when you get something that's that close. And it's another reason why I think I think the judges need to be implored to be a little more heavy-handed with 10-8 rounds. I think when there are certain rounds where you see a 3-round fight and you see the first round fighter A beats fighter B very convincingly, and then you see the second round where fighter B beats fighter A not really convincingly. That guy got some takedowns and he got in a couple more shots. So, and then the third round, fighter A again wins, or so the third round, fighter B wins convincingly. So now we have a round A, round 1, fighter A wins convincingly. Round 2, fighter B, who knows?
Okay. I feel like you need
All right, I'm confused
a
myself. You're right, I'm
visual.
confused
Who?
myself. I'm
Which
confused
one's fighter
myself.
A?
The
Which
point
one's
is,
fighter B? First of all, wait. Let me time out. You
go
just
ahead.
basically contradicted what your whole argument was. You thought that Roy Nelson won, but I feel like it's only if you're a judge scoring takedowns. He took him down 7 times. Was on top of him for 4 minutes total, but significant strikes were something like 57-7 in favor of Lewis. So it's like, is it a fight, or if you kick the
Right.
guy's
So
ass way
I'm
more?
saying, as the rules stand, I felt like it should have gone that way. If the rules were based in where someone so much more convincingly wins a round, they should be getting a 10-8. There was a fight recently that you and I were watching together, and I wish I could remember what it was, but it was when I was over your house, and it was a fight where there should have been a 10-8 round, and it would have made the fight a draw if there was a 10-8 round. But because there wasn't, fighter A won the fight because he won 2 rounds, but fighter B won 1 round very convincingly, like better than the other guy won the other 2 rounds. In any case, I just feel like, irrespective of the fight, I'm not talking specifically about that fight. It's a generalization. I think refs should be more heavy-handed in handing out 10-8 rounds. And what I really think, what I would really like to see, and this is just a pie in the sky thing, I would like to have, I'd like to take all of the guesswork out of it and assign everything a point, and then have people that are responsible for recording the points. Every significant left hand that lands is this guy's responsibility. Every significant right hand that lands is this guy's responsibility to record. Every significant left kick that lands is this guy's responsibility to record. You get 10 people. Listen. So there's 10
I'm
or 12.
listening.
There's 10 or 12 criteria. Everybody writes down the scores, and then you add up the scores at the end. And that way, it takes all of the personal. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. All the personal judgment out of it. Like, somebody thinks that one judge thinks that strikes are more important. One guy thinks that takedowns are more important. One guy thinks that top control is more important. One guy thinks that octagon control is more important. There needs to be a much more. You can't have these rounds where one judge is going, all right, it's 30-27 to fighter A, and then the other 2 judges are going, it's 29-28 to fighter B. It's like, what the fuck fight is judge number 1 looking at, where he's giving fighter A a 30-27, and the other 2 judges are giving fighter B a 29-28? How's that the same fight? That can't even be the same fight. They're 2 completely different scores.
They are okay.
You've seen it.
This is too far down the rabbit hole of
Okay. Anyways,
non-specific examples. I feel
it's just some things that I'd like to see cleaned up in mixed martial arts.
I think it's too difficult to determine what makes a strike significant for every case because some people take punches better than others.
Right, but
Some
there's
people
fight
could be
metrics. There's fight metrics. If they just use fight metrics and then they
yeah, but that's not
expand,
official,
but they
enough.
expand on fight metrics. They expand on fight metrics. They go, okay, fight metrics plus here's the 9 submission attempts that fighter A took, and then here's the 9 takedowns that the other guy got, but he also had 4 other takedown attempts. So we're going to give him a half a point for that. We're going to give him 2 points for takedowns, and it's just scored just like a submission grappling event is scored. So when a
Or like
referee,
boxing is scored. So you could have guys like Floyd Mayweather outpointing you the whole time or playing it too safe. See, I feel like there's too many subtle nuances that are imperfect and it will never be perfect. If we will go overly statistic, there are ways to exploit it with numbers. Some people, they're seeing it. There's 3 judges seeing it from a different angle of the octagon. They're not watching through a computer. They're just seeing it from that. So there's things that they're missing. There's things that uh, they're not at the best angle for. Incredibly. Uh, anyway, there were many instances in the main events on Tough. Joanna Jędrzejczyk got 2 10-8 rounds in round 4 and round 5 in that fight after losing the first. So she lost the first 2 rounds, then had a 10-9 round 3, and kind of pulled away as Gadelia gassed. The Cormier Anderson Silva fight, all 3 judges gave 10-8 rounds to Cormier. There wasn't too much, and I could see through the whole weekend that I would consider to be major judging flaws or spotlights on things. Uh, Certainly, the only one that I had any immediate reaction to was I could see if you why the judge who if you're the type of judge that scores takedowns more importantly than significant strikes, I could see that why Roy Nelson won that fight. But after watching, especially the first round and how Lewis ended the third round, he beat the shit out of Roy Nelson. If you're thinking a fight should be who beat the shit out of the opponent more, then 10 times out of 10, it was Derek Lewis winning that fight. But that's how I saw. I bet money on Roy Nelson and lost, but
mm,
I bet money on other fights this weekend and came out pretty good. So
I
maybe
didn't
I'll get
bet any. I didn't bet any money on any fights this weekend. But my my UFC 200 started off incredible. I had 8 for 8 the first 8 fights, and then the last, what is it, 12? Yeah, so it's the last 4 fights. I only got one out of the last 4. So I ended up with 9 out of
well.
12. So
Who are your picks? We know your fantasy stats. Who did you
uh,
pick in the main card? Say.
so
I
my
assume you
main
picked your
card
boy
picks.
Cain Velasquez. Yeah.
Yep, of course I picked Cain Velasquez. Um, I picked Miller. I picked Lozon. Um,
Okay.
I pick, do the
Did you
whole
pick
card.
Garbus? Well, I mean, I
I
just
picked
wanted you to do the
Mousasi.
main card, but I
Oh,
see
oh,
you
so,
want to be.
so just the main card. Okay, so the main card I picked Hunt. Um, I I picked Tate. I I originally I picked Silva, and then I changed it. I changed it to Cormier because I knew that it's just too much. He's just too much. He's just gonna.
2 days, 2 days, gallbladder
Yeah, I mean,
surgery. What the
listen,
fuck?
I'm the never bet against Anderson Silva guy. I don't if you put Brock Lesnar and a bear and a fucking tank in there, and a shark and
Yeah,
a and
Shark
a
Tank.
and a and a yeah, if you put those all in the ring, I'm still voting for Anderson Silva. But I had to go with Cormier on this one because it was too much, and
Yeah,
I
come
and
on.
I it was after my I was doing so well in the card. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and go for a perfect card, and I felt really comfortable with the rest of my picks. Um, and so it was Tate was the one I lost, and and then Hunt was the one I lost, and then the other one was. I have to go look at the.
Did you pick Aldo Edgar?
I did. I picked Edgar. Yeah, yeah. That was what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I picked Edgar in that one,
So you
and
only got Velasquez for the main card.
yep. No, no, no. I got Velasquez and Cormier.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Forgot.
yeah.
Okay, so let me get into my rant about the Cormier Anderson Silva fight and the fact that it happened. It's basically the most WWE shit of the card, besides even
Other than
including Brock Lesnar. No,
over
no,
over over Brock Lesnar.
absolutely, because this was just it's they had to do something because this is the guy. This is one half of the main event that was destroyed with John Jones' USADA violation. So this guy had been training for months for this. He hasn't fought since Alexander Gustafsson at what was that UFC 190? No, I think it was 188 or 191. No, excuse me, it was 192 because Demetrius Johnson fought on the undercard. Hadn't fought against since UFC 192. Supposed to fight John Jones at 197, was injured and had to be replaced by OSP. And now 2 days before the biggest fight card in UFC history, weekend in combat sports history, his opponent fucks up as he predicted, which was on
That's
that
pretty.
promo that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
aired,
yeah.
which was
That was pretty funny when they played it back, and he's like, he's gonna fuck up. That's what he does. That's his
yeah.
MO.
And it was tweeted
Damn it.
immediately after by Jones's manager, just a tweet that just said "Wow" right after that promo, because that promo was created just to be like, listen, we apologize in advance for this squash match. This basically Daniel Cormier versus an Uber driver. This is a guy who's been training to fight
An
one of
Uber
the.
driver.
That's what
Jesus Christ.
Anderson Silva looked like an Uber driver. He was just. I know he's Anderson
He was a
Silva,
little pudgy. He was a little pudgy. I've never seen him that
but
pudgy. Having
but
said
it's a guy
that,
who just. And this is
listen,
not shitting on him.
Anderson Silva fucking cracked him a few times. Cracked him. And if that was a stand-up fight, if there were no takedowns in that fight, Anderson Silva would have knocked the fucking shit out of him. So,
Well, I'm just. My point is that it's a match that was basically just for the UFC fans who are traveling there to say they saw one of the greatest of all time fighters in UFC history and mixed martial arts history live on UFC's biggest event, and it was
right.
it was the closest thing to uh, a WWE WrestleMania type match where 10 years past their prime, Hulk Hogan comes back and becomes a tag team champ. He's not in the main event anymore, but the fans are still psyched that he's there. They know he's not the same as when he was a kid, but hey, they're just happy to see him there. His corner was picking him up after that. It's a 30-26 unanimous decision.
That was
But
a little weird.
come on, it's
It
like
was a little bit strange.
so. I mean, listen, it's kind of cool in a fantasy booking way that got to happen. But was I amped up or excited for the fight? No, no, I wasn't. It was just it would have been interesting if Cormier had been knocked out, and then what the fuck happens? Does Silva then get a title shot rematch on a full camp? You're going down more bizarre holes. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing that we're gonna see video clips of before the next Daniel Cormier match. Him beating up uh, 2 days off the couch Anderson Silva, still recovering from gallbladder surgery, which he got
Jesus
immediately
Christ.
after UFC 198. What the, I know. It's just the why did they? This guy is an an elite champion athlete training for the best, and they don't move Gegard Mousasi up. And the thing that also pissed me off is It wasn't for the title. It was at light heavyweight, but it wasn't
Right.
for the title. So it's what the fuck is that shit?
Yeah.
Not that he deserved the title shot, but it's the fucking UFC 200. You want a
I'm
championship?
sure there's a lot. I'm sure there's a number of light heavyweights that felt snubbed by that, but you
Yeah,
know that.
Gegard Mousasi. He was on the card already. He
Yeah.
said in his post fight that he was told he would get it, but it just they didn't want to risk it. They didn't want the UFC everything to be completely turned upside down after the
Right.
weekend if something happens. That is something that any future opponent of Daniel Cormier can rightfully call him out in their in whatever shit talking they want to do. This is a guy that was afraid to defend his title against the guy 2 days off the couch, 45 years old, who hasn't won
No,
since
that's
2000.
that's not how it played out. It was Silva that didn't want to go 5 rounds.
I think that if you asked Daniel I mean, I'm sure that
It
it
was
was.
it was it was according to, again, now it's according to Dana White. According
What
to
about
Dana
your
White,
source? What did your source say, Nick?
yeah.
I mean,
What does my source
Silva
say?
doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go 5 rounds. I mean, what do you? That seems strange to me that a guy would be fighting a champion and say, "I'll fight a champion, but it can't be for his belt," which would give a potential.
Everything that I've heard, I heard it from Joe Rogan. I heard it from Dana White, and I think Joe Rogan mentioned it during the event as well, that it was Anderson Silva's decision to not go 5 rounds. And I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch that fight, if you listen to the afterwards, Joe Rogan mentions it, that it was all Anderson Silva's decision. He didn't want to fight 5 rounds. He didn't have it in him to come off the fucking couch and do 5 rounds. And they
But the old
and
Anderson Silva would have ended it.
here it is. Here it is here. I also remember hearing it at the post-fight press conference where the interviewer asked Anderson Silva, uh, why he wanted to do only 3 rounds, and he said because he didn't feel like he could hang on. It was something to that extent. I don't know the exact question but it was a
Okay.
question centered around the amount of rounds and his decision to not go 5 rounds. So if you go back and watch the post-fight press conference, it's addressed there as well. So it was on him that he didn't want to go 5 rounds, and it was also there was another decision that was they asked him to go at a catch weight of 210, and he wouldn't agree to that, which is smart. That's smart. You're not going to give Cormier. You're not going to let him off the fucking hook because he came in at 198.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I mean that makes sense with the catch weight. Yeah. You don't want to give him. Oh yeah.
You don't
Five less.
you want him to have to suffer as much as he has to suffer in order to drop that other 5 pounds. So whatever wear and tear that his body has to take in order to cut that other 5 pounds, uh, Anderson Silva
But
wants to make sure that he has to go through that in order to in order to exploit that little bit of an edge for him. So
but listen to what you just said though. You just said that Daniel Cormier proposed that they fight at a catch weight of 210 pounds. That means that in Cormier's head, there's no way he's defending the belt. So there you have it.
well, I think it was after the 3 rounds was discussed. So I think the 3 rounds was on the table, and then Cormier was like, "All right, well, if it's a 3 round fight, can we do it at 210? So I don't have to worry about
But that
the
he
last
just said
five
this is all
hours of having to
theoretical.
cut weight."
Okay, this is useless. It was a terrible fight. It was a stupid, fun thing for the fans and nothing more. It's just going to be a weird footnote to me in the careers of both men and on the very final Zuffa card in UFC history.
Hmm.
Will the
It's
Zuffa
you know
logo
what
be at the end of this Wednesday's fights? Should we skip ahead? Because I have to leave pretty soon, about 15 minutes at least. I have to be on the move, but I mean, there's much more we could talk about. What are your Is it even on your radar after 3 straight nights of fights that, oh wow, 4 days later there's a new card and it's the UFC's debut in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's not the biggest card in the world, but there's a couple of exciting fights on it, headlined by McDonald Lineker and featuring Tony Ferguson fighting some guy.
I was very excited to see that fight.
Yes,
I thought I
we
think Michael Chiesa and Tony Ferguson are two scary, scary motherfuckers, and I don't think anybody is very excited to see either of those guys looking across the ring at them. So I thought that was such a good fight. I was really stoked to see that fight. So I'm super bummed that Chiesa had to pull out. The rest of the card, I'm not that familiar with. So um, forgive me while I look it up
I
here.
mean, are you even gonna? I'm just saying. I'm not saying like how excited are you for every fight on the card, but that after 3 straight days of some of the best fights, the most loaded up 3 days in UFC history with all these previous champions and bonus winners and all
Yeah, well,
these stars.
that's like asking me if I went out to a three Michelin star restaurant and had the most amazing gourmet meal I've ever had, and then 3 days later I went to McDonald's, and you're like, "Are you excited to go to McDonald's?" No, not
Wait.
really. Am I gonna eat it? Yeah, I'm hungry, and I'll probably eat it because I have to eat, but I'm not super excited about it. I think that I think that any fight after UFC 200 uh, is not going to live up to that standard. That was the craziest fucking card. So aside from the weird match between Anderson Silva and Daniel Cormier, that was the most stacked card that's ever happened. Every fighter I knew, other than the guy that Sage Northcutt fought, who was lucky as fuck to get on UFC 200 because he had one fight in the UFC, and then his second fight in the UFC he was in on UFC 200. Other than him, I knew every
Hey, he was
fighter
a
on that
Fight
card.
Pass veteran. I watched
Huh?
his season of the UFC Latin America season 2. He was a
Okay.
semifinalist.
Okay. Well, I didn't. I missed that. Uh, my point being, aside from him, I knew every single fighter on that card. I knew every fighter. There wasn't one fighter on that card that I didn't know, recognize, and hadn't seen them fight. So in that respect, it was the most. And the two for me, uh, even looking back on it, I love the fights, but the two most exciting fights to me, one of them was on the Fight Pass card, and the other one was the first fight of the main card. Um, so the two most exciting fights to me were Kane Travis Brown. That was the fight I was most looking forward to, and the other fight I was most looking forward to was Joe Lozon versus Diego Sanchez. Uh, and just to be able to say that those were the out of the fucking stacked card, out of the main event, co-main event, other title fight implications, other title fight that was on the card, that that was the most those were the most interesting fights to me. To be able to say that just speaks volumes about the card itself. So the next card after that is going to be it's going to be hard to
Yeah,
live up to.
yeah, for sure. But what did you think of the main event? The Tate versus Nunez. That was pretty exciting. I mean, as long as it lasted. If you're talking about the most exciting fights being first round knockouts, you listed two. Maybe it's the. Is it the fact that they're
They were the
women,
most
Nick?
exciting to me. I'm saying they were the most exciting to me before they happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying afterwards, I enjoyed them. I enjoyed watching the fights. I liked the results. Uh, for me,
This is
before the
not the
fight,
UFC 200 preview show, Nick. Tell me your thoughts on
no,
the
this
fight.
is what I'm trying to explain to you is that the fact that the two fights that were the most exciting to me before having seen them were the first one was on the Fight Pass prelims.
I heard that. I gotcha. I
Okay,
know when they
so
were.
I'm not saying that in retrospect, after watching the entire card, that was the most exciting fight to me. That was the most exciting fight to me before I saw it. That's what I'm trying to say. Am I making any sense to you?
Okay,
Am I
sure.
getting
Okay,
through, Matt
right.
Kona?
Gotcha. But that is very good to know. Thank you, I guess. Yeah, it's okay. It's gonna be a
I
big
feel
drop
like you're
off.
not getting what I'm trying to say. The point that I'm
Okay,
trying to make
okay.
is
Yes,
that
you were excited.
the card was so fucking stacked. That's how excited that the fights that I was more interested to see than the main events was on the Fight Pass prelim card. That's how stacked the card was. That's the point that I
Right.
was trying to make.
Great.
Okay.
You made it a great point, Nick. I think
All
you're really
right.
putting yourself out there.
Glad I got through.
I think you
Jesus.
finally convinced us that UFC
I've broached
200
the
was a
beard.
good
I made it
card going
through.
in. Yes, because I didn't understand that you were excited about the UFC 200 card. But now I do. And will you I guess my main point is, will you eat McDonald's on Wednesday?
I will watch McDonald's on Wednesday. I will watch Michael McDonald's on Wednesday.
Good.
And Tony Ferguson is fighting Landon Venata. I don't know who
Yes.
that is. Tim Bosch versus Josh Salmon. That's like an interesting fight. Louis Smolka versus Ben Wen. Sam Alvey, Smiling Sam versus Eric Spicely. I'm excited for that fight, actually. I like both those guys a lot. Eric Spicely is actually a New England guy, and he's a real serious jiu-jitsu player. So be interested to see how he fares against Alvey.
Yeah, he's just coming off this previous season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Correct.
The lowest rated Ultimate Fighter in history. Not a good season. Not a good season. It got to the point where
I stopped watching it. I didn't
I just
watch
fast
the
forwarded
last
to the
5
fights.
episodes.
I just fast forwarded to the fights those last few episodes because I really couldn't care that much about the people. They weren't super interesting to me on the personal level. I thought it would be a little bit actually more interesting because there was light heavyweight men living in the same house as strawweight women, but it did not turn into the real world where everyone is fucking.
Everybody's fucking in the hot tub.
Yeah, maybe you got some vibes from some people, but maybe they were fucking in the sauna while cutting weight. But yeah, so I'm curious to see if Smiling Sam throws more than 10 punches in a fight after his last time when he fought up in Canada.
I imagine that Spicely's going to try and take it to the ground. So if he can get takedowns, he'll be able to stifle those. He won't be able to get past that 10 punch hurdle.
Right. Well,
past the old 10 punch hurdle. Here's an interesting thing that I read earlier. John Jones' manager said that him missing this fight cost him an 8-figure purse. So at least $10 million.
Purse? No. He wouldn't make $10 million if Brock Lesnar got 2.5 million. Maybe in terms of pay-per-view points and everything all put together. But 10 million seems, I don't know. I didn't read the comment said by the manager, but strange that he would come up with that because who does that benefit? Is he going to use that?
Jones' manager says fighter missed out on 8-figure payday. So that was heavyweight Brock Lesnar made a record $2.5 million in base salary for his fight against Mark Hunt. Blah blah blah. So not a $10 million purse. He said a $10 million payday. So there's that. So there's that to add to the whatever other shittiness that John Jones has to deal with in the course of all this. He also missed out on life-changing money that would put him in a tax bracket where he would never have to work another day in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I overall the entire weekend, I'm very excited with it. I saw a post from somebody uh, the night of UFC 200 that was like said something shitty about the fights, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I don't know. I guess if you watched, the Hunt and the Cormier, the Lesnar and the Cormier fights, those weren't the most exciting fights.
I
Um,
don't know, I still thought that the Lesnar Hunt was exciting just because Hunt can knock you out at any point. Lesnar hadn't been in there in 5 years. I mean, the second round, not a lot happened, but there was a lot of action in the first and third rounds, and both won by Lesnar. I thought Hunt won the second round just because Lesnar wasn't able to take him down, and he
yeah, I thought
still.
that was the turning of the tides. I thought that was where we were going to see, once he took that round, I was like, all right, well, it's 1-1 here, uh, and it looks like the tide's turning for Hunt. So if he can weather that initial 1 minute storm of the next round and get past that without getting dumped on his back and having that 300-pound fucking animal on top of him, then he might be able to win this third round, if not knock him out.
Yeah, and
So he was my
that was
pick.
what.
I thought Hunt was going to be too heavy-handed for him. Lesnar doesn't like to get hit. We've seen it before. We've seen him shy away from punches. He, he's not a fan of being hit. Um,
That's please. I hate that. Fucking everyone says that. Nobody is a fan of getting hit. It's not unique to Brock Lesnar. Uh, Getting hit in the face sucks. But
there are people that know how to get hit in the face, and there are people that don't. He doesn't.
yeah,
So,
but what the fuck?
so that's the point. That's the
Yeah,
point.
but that's the point. If
There
the
are people
point
that
is that
fight.
it's an
There are
annoying
people
fucking
that fight that
cliche.
have done stand-up fighting for 10, 15 years that understand how to get hit in the face, and they know how to evade being hit in the face without turning their back on it and turning their face from it and running away from it, which is what
Yeah, but that
Lesnar
has
has
nothing to
done. Which
do
is what
with.
Lesnar has done several times in the past after getting hit. So that's what people are saying when they say he doesn't like to get hit.
No, there's that you just said two completely different things. There are people who know how to get hit, and there are people who like to get hit. Regardless, Lesnar did not get hit very much in the third round. He was on top of Hunt the whole time, hitting him 137 total strikes. Pretty good. I thought it was an impressive win by Lesnar, and then my internet abruptly cut out, and I wasn't able to watch the main event fight live, unfortunately, which sucks. It came back on during the replay of seeing Misha tapping out after getting demolished by Nunez, which I watched the next day on Fight Pass on public internet at about 7:30 in the morning before going back to work or going to work, which was not fun. Also, coincidentally, I'm a 10-game Red Sox season ticket holder, and it hasn't happened for 2 years, but there's without fail one game a year I always forget that I have tickets to until the next day, and I had tickets yesterday and did not go. So
So that's your one.
rough weekend. That's my one so far this year. I also this is the third time in different amount of tickets. I had tickets to see one of my favorite punk bands that I haven't seen in years. They were playing a show on a Sunday night. I forgot I had tickets. Did not go. I bought tickets to see Mike Birbiglia's new movie about improv, which he introduced live at the Kendall Square Theater in Cambridge. I did not know. I did not go.
Damn it.
I should
You're
not buy
fucking
tickets.
Johnny Space Shot over here.
Uh,
You
I
need a
I
you need a calendar. You need a
I have a
calendar.
calendar. I have a calendar of horses doing yoga, Nick. It's
You
right
need to
here.
roll that. You need to roll that thing up and put it in your back pocket and carry it around with you, Matt Kona. Hey,
Well,
did you watch the induction
no,
ceremony yesterday?
no, I didn't. I didn't have the time. Or I'm protesting the fact that Art Davie wasn't inducted. No, I
Hmm.
didn't watch it, but I know it's on Fight Pass. I should go back and tune in. There's still fights I haven't seen from this past weekend. I'm slowly trying to go back to. I'm gonna try to watch most of the main card on Wednesday. I have something to do between 7 and 8, perhaps, but eh, it's a fucking, it's a real bitch sometimes trying to catch up with all these
No, it
combative
was good.
athletes.
It was real good. It was really nice to see. I liked the speeches that Pete Williams gave. and I was really excited to see Don Fry get inducted. He was such an integral part of the early days of the UFC, and he was one of my really early heroes. Um, I think we talked about it before on the podcast, but I sent him an email like 15 years ago, and he emailed me back, and I was like the biggest thing that ever happened in my life. I was like, holy fucking shit, Don Fry emailed me back. Um,
Yeah.
so it was bittersweet. You see guys like that are that they're never going to fight again. He's 51 years old. It was good to
He
see
almost
Mark.
fought, right? No, that was Dan Severn that almost fought. Yeah, sorry.
Well, it was Dan Severn that inducted him. Dan
Oh,
Severn and Dan Severn is still fighting, and he's in his 50s. He does still fight, and he also does pro wrestling. So I don't know what fights are real and what are not, but he's still out there doing stuff. Severn does a lot of seminars, but he was the one that inducted Don Fry. That was super awkward.
okay.
Uh, he
They,
you could tell that he wrote what he said, and what he said was fucking weird and awkward, and it was not delivered well. And I'm a huge fan of Dan Severn, but it was like, fuck, man, you needed to have somebody go over this before you said these words out loud, because it was goofy. It's probably not as bad as I think it is, but when I was watching it, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, what are you doing? But it's probably not as bad as I think it is if I go back and watch it again. But it was great to see him, Coleman, all those guys. Big Nog inducted, of course. Bob Meyerowitz inducted, of course. Uh, Hopefully Art Davies not too far behind, and also Horian Gracie, because he is one of the original people too. So it was the three of them. Meyerowitz was the money guy, and it was the three of them that started the UFC. You read the book, so you know it. So they should
oh yeah.
all three of them should eventually be put in there, and I'm sure they all will in due time.
Well,
there was only
not with the
five
new.
guys that were inducted this year, and I don't think it's any more than that normally. So every year that they induct somebody, sometimes I think it's only two people. I think the first year it was just Ken Shamrock and Hoist Gracie, I think, were the first two inductees, and I think those were the only people that were inducted that year.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was enjoyable. I watched it. John Anik hosted it and did a smashing job per usual. He's very good at what he does. Um, I'm a fan of John Anik. I think he's good for the sport, and I think he seems like a good dude too. So
And he's got a
um,
619 tattoo, right? No,
no, 207,
209. 20,
207. That's true.
no, no, it's
That's true.
209, not 207. 207 is Maine, right?
207. He likes lobster too, so he got a 207 because he's really into
He
lobster.
is a New Englander, but yeah. Well, he'll be commenting on UFC uh, South Dakota this Wednesday. If you're watching the video, I'm not sure when you'll be able to put the podcast up. Let's
I
why don't,
will.
why don't we do why don't we pick the top three fights of it at least? Michael McDonald versus John Lineker, Landon Varata versus Tony Ferguson. I think we both probably will pick Tony Ferguson. Tim Boach
Yep.
versus Josh Salmon or Samyn, I think it's pronounced. And I mean, there is a handful of
It's
guys I
salmon.
know.
Salmon.
Yeah,
Josh Salmon or
yeah,
Saman.
yeah.
Uh,
Come on,
and Josh
author.
Saman was his last fight was against Tammin McCrory, and he got
Yeah.
toe up from the flow up. I'm gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna go Tim Bosch, Tony Ferguson, John Lineker. Those are my top three. Tim Bosch, Tony Ferguson, John Lineker.
Well, I am picking author Josh Salmon.
Oh, look at that.
We will not give this book away to anyone that leaves a review because I haven't finished it yet. But
We'll not give it away because no one will go leave a review for us to give it away.
well,
So
I
I'll give you a car, and Conan will give you a car if you go. Give us a
Oh
review,
yeah,
but
your
nobody's
wife's
going to give us a
car, right?
review, so we get to keep our cars. So that's
Your
fine.
wife's car. Okay. Um,
My wife actually got a
I'm
new
picking.
car. That
Okay.
goddamn car is gone. Thank God.
All right. Well, I'll play devil's advocate and pick everyone that you didn't, and pick Michael McDonald, Landon Venata, and Josh Salmon
Holy
in the
shit.
top three fights.
Vanata. Good
Landon
for you.
Venata, I truly do not think will win, but I just want to have a little. I don't know if I'm going to place any bets. See, I actually made some okay money, although I placed some silly bets. I bet against Gray Maynard just because I thought he was kind of a shadow of his former self
Oh,
on
I
Friday night.
I picked Gray Maynard on that fight. I
Uh,
didn't put any money. I've never put any real money in any fights. I bet like five
well,
or ten
what? Let
bucks with my
me.
buddies.
Okay, let me ask you. What do you consider to be real money? Because I've
I don't
only
know,
ever
100
bet.
bucks. You ever
Okay.
put 100 bucks down on a fight? That's real money.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I know. But I'm just asking you as a veteran of uh, poker, big time poker tournaments, which are way. What do you consider that extra real money? Because that's uh, typically not in the hundreds. But anyway, this is maybe too much. Um,
Yeah,
I'll
well, I
just say
mean,
that.
if you're betting on three fights and in 3 or 4 fights on a card, you're putting 100 bucks on each. You've got 400, 500 bucks rolling on one card. That's that's real money. That's
Okay. Yeah.
especially somebody like you or I, where that could pay a good portion of our bills for the month.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel pretty good
So
about. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if I feel comfortable putting that much money on Wednesday, but I made okay. All right, let's just
yeah,
say
I've
I bet
never.
UFC 200 too, so that was good. Like both the UFC 200. All right, I tried to limit myself because there was, um, sorry,
It's all right. I can still hear you.
unlike Michael Bisping with the earpiece falling out of his Hollywood. I guess he lives in LA. His cauliflower ears during the UFC 200 post fight. It happened like three times. Him and Dominic Cruz. I wanted to see a compilation of all the times the earpieces fell out.
Done to music.
Yeah, like
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt.
yeah, or something, or like can't touch this, and it keeps falling out.
Can't touch his. That's better. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
Rory
better.
McDonald's old walkout music. Can't touch this. Um,
That's still one of the best
fuck.
stories ever.
What was I saying? God damn it. Yeah, UFC 200. I bet on two fights and I won both of those bets, and that
Oh,
was
nice.
Jose Aldo and Brock Lesnar were who I picked.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was nice. It was back to back. Although I really wanted to pick Amanda Nunez, but I going into it, I wanted to limit myself to two bets. I bet three on Friday, and I lost the first two. I also bet on the tough women's division fight against for the underdog, and I just bet $80 because I had some left over. I bet on Eddie Alvarez the night before and won okay, um,
Oh, okay.
plus 280, so that was
Oh,
good.
that's good. So, what did you bet? 100?
$100,
Oh, so
yeah,
you made 280. That's good.
yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah,
see, I've never known. I mean, I've known bookies. I've never placed a bet with a bookie in my life. So that's what I
yeah,
say when I say real money. Like you have to have some. You're you're not. It's not just a $5 handshake with your buddy.
right.
You have to have money, and you have to come up with money if you lose.
Not like real buddies that you could just
Whereas
blow
your
off
buddy,
and
where
say
you go
"fuck
like,
you."
dude, I don't know how many times I've made a bet with my buddy and they never paid me.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
whatever. It's $10. I don't give a shit.
Well, there's a lot of buddies where I'm like, I'll bet you $1 million, and I actually don't have $1 million to bet. So my
Hey, but
apologies
if
to
you
all
win
buddies.
one, if you win one
Yeah,
of
hey
those,
man, give me $1 million, you motherfucker, cheap piece of shit.
you'll at least have $1 million that's owed to you that you can use for bets in future.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, true, very true.
So I don't know how much
Um,
we touched on as far this super fucking busy weekend, and I don't know how much we touched on
we
the
didn't touch on
amazing.
too much, but there were title change. I mean, I guess title changes. The lightweight being the most notable.
Yeah, that was
And
crazy.
then the UF,
That was
even
crazy.
though it happened at the very end, but the the last four bantamweight championships for women have had four different champions: Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, Misha Tate, and now Amanda Nunes holding the
Right.
belt. And
So
there's an opponent for
It's
her.
about time for Ronda Rousey to get the fuck back in there and start cleaning this shit up.
I know, but then
Let's
earlier
start.
in the
Let's.
night, Kat Zingano in the FS1 headliner got pretty well handled by
That's it.
yeah,
Juliana
by
Pena.
Juliana Pena.
And
So is it going to
I
be a
picked
battle
her
of
as,
Brazilians? Is it going to be Juliana Pena against Amanda
well, she's
Nunes?
Venezuelan.
Sorry, excuse me.
The
well,
Venezuelan vixen. Um,
yeah.
eh, I actually emailed her about doing a interview, but it was within like it was when she was already in Las Vegas, and it was probably I think it was within 4 days of the fight, so she never got back to me. But hopefully, since this win, maybe we can. I'll hopefully be able to get a little snap interview with her. So people may or may not be hearing this after I'm done talking, or we might do it another time. So if the next thing you hear is an advertisement for Team Link hooks it, you'll know that I didn't get the interview. And if the next thing you hear is me going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nick David with the MMAniacs podcast here
Wait,
with
wait, wait,
Juliana
wait.
Pena.
No,
But
never do that. If you're cutting to an interview in the middle of the podcast, you don't have to say who you are again. It's already okay.
I've done it every
You know what I
time.
mean?
I go, hi everybody,
I
Nick David
know.
here with so
But
and so, whatever.
like people can't be tuning in the middle of a podcast. They specifically, we're not being broadcast. All right. If you walked into the room while
I'm
someone
gonna
else
put
is
my hand
listening
on
to
my
this
ear like
podcast,
this, and I'll go, back to you, Steve.
yeah, back to you, me.
Back to you, me.
Yeah,
Back to you, me, in the editing room.
back to me, you. You could do that too. Either one works. It's all you. It's all you, Nick. It's all you.
All
Well,
right.
the next thing you hear in the video is just us over analyzing editing decisions. um, but we need a cut man. Where's the cut man? Cut it out. Just kidding.
Well, hey,
Well,
listen,
okay.
have fun
Big. Hey.
tonight at whatever ticketed event that you have forgotten to go to.
Oh my God. I
enjoy,
could have tickets.
enjoy.
And the thing is that both times, trying to think, the Freeze one, I think I just stayed in and watched TV because I was very tired. It was a Sunday night after working all week. But the movie, I was out flyering for roast battle, so I was working, and then the Red Sox game, I was working my day job
Mm.
after after getting not much sleep because of 200 the night before.
Hey, would
So
that be a fun thing for a 3-year-old
yeah, I
to
think
duck
they'd have
out?
fun. I think so.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's many 3-year-olds get
Do you
on,
go out
and
on the
they're
water?
the
Is it
cheapest
something that's
ticket.
just around town, or?
They go out on the water and they can drive it too. So
Yeah,
yeah, as long as he's got his captain's license and he's Coast Guard certified, any
yeah,
three year
yeah. He's
olds
3.
can
Fuck,
drive.
of course.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
what kind of dad do you think I am? Fucking pilot's license. He's got his dispensary license. He's good to
Let's
go.
get his, his dispensary, but it's a Pez dispensary.
That's
Yeah.
right. He's a Pez
Yeah.
dealer.
I love it. Yeah. Well, okay, Nick. Well, I got to run. Maybe if we both do watch South Dakota live, we can do a little live wrap up. Maybe some, I mean, granted, this is a card that's a hangover effect of a huge weekend of fights, maybe the biggest in UFC's history, the final flame of the Zuffa era, and
Mm.
let's see how it all begins under WME. See if there are any notable. Their entertainment group, are they able to make any influence on the first card after? Who knows? I think it's going to be a transition, but that's the most exciting part about this is we'll see what happens. It's a new day, and we're not sure how it's going to go. We know Dana White will still be there, the fighters will still be there, but what changes in the
Whatever it
post-Super
is,
world?
I hope that the most notable changes are in benefit of the fighters. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
I hope they get more money and better benefits and better sponsorship and all that shit.
Yeah, well, hey, they have already got colored Reebok shorts, so that's no, I don't know. Okay, I don't want to end on a weird note, but all right.
All right,
Well, we'll see you next time.
MMAniacs over and out.
Okay. Peace.